One. All right, so we should be live streaming. I don't know if we actually are. This is the first time that I'm using this software, but I want to say thank you for meeting me or agreeing to meet with me today, Ray.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How's sunny New York this afternoon?
Today it's beautiful out. It's actually a beautiful day, and we're going to have some real nice weather coming up in the next week. So I'm happy about that.
It's about time, eh?
Yeah. How's Toronto weather?
Well, we're only like a 5-hour trip. I've been to Albany a few times, and
have you?
And Detroit, because my son went to college out there playing hockey.
Whereabouts?
In a place called Hoosac, right near the border, sort of western, just a little bit east. Sorry, of Albany.
Hoosick Falls?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there's a
Nice.
college there.
Yeah.
So he had a couple of seasons there and loved it. So yeah, wonderful part of the world.
Yeah. So big trip though from Toronto.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad if the Smokies don't get you on the I-90. You can motor along pretty sweetly. So.
Yeah.
No, I'm not admitting to anything though. Just so you know.
So let me tell you, I read your article.
Uh-huh.
I get an alert every morning, and I read your article, and I said, it would be great if I could talk to Ray. We have a real estate auction brokerage firm in New York. We cover the whole state of New York.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So we have agents in Long Island and as far as Syracuse, but we do cover Rochester and Buffalo.
Lovely.
And it's a virtual office. So we only meet virtually twice a week.
Okay.
Over video.
Yep.
So when we do our trainings, I just said to myself, it would be nice if I could bring on a guest every once in a while. And I haven't done it. It was just a thought that I wanted to do it. So when I read your article and I shot the email out to the reporter, I said, this would be great. A fellow real estate auctioneer or former real estate auctioneer, if I could bring you in as a guest, just to, get some perspective from someone else that's been in the business. Now, I didn't realize that you were an author, that you had a podcast, that you were a coach until after I got your email. And I got to tell you, I was pretty intimidated after I went to your website. I started listening to your podcast, and I was a nervous wreck until until you sent me that last email. And I won't mention what you said, but it went away like that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you told me this was a live video, and I said I better put some pants on. So that's actually what happened. So we're pretty relaxed in Australia, but I've been here in nearly 10 years in Toronto now, and I love it. And I love hooking up with agents right throughout the US and Canada. And I've had the opportunity, Giacomo, to meet some pretty amazing men and women in our industry. So, look, I'm excited to be on your show today. Thanks for including me. I love spreading the word, and I love helping out wherever I can.
All right, awesome. It's not a show though. It's all it is. Well, here's the thing. I do have a real estate auction school. Okay. I have a brokerage firm and I have an auction school. I'm an approved instructor in the state of New York. Okay. So I used to teach real estate brokers and agents on different topics as it relates to getting their real estate license or their broker's license.
Cool. Yep.
But then I got into the auction business, and because of my passion and with teaching, I wanted to start my own real estate auction school. Now it's an online school, so everything is virtual again. So I used to have a real estate auction show to promote the school. I no longer have that. It was on Blog Talk Radio. I don't know if you heard of it.
Okay, yep.
Like the syndicated radio show.
Yep, of course.
Then I wrote a book, and someone told me, look, you need to write a book. You need to get your name out there. So I wrote a book and published that in 2011 just to promote the school. But this is not a show, but I would like to start a new live stream show to help promote the school and the new brokerage firm that I started. Okay. So what happened is I had a traditional brokerage firm for about 10 years that sold real estate traditionally as well as at auction. So we did a little bit of both.
Okay.
Unlike Australia, where I think, 90% of real estate is sold at auction?
No, I wouldn't say that. I'd probably say 30 or 40%.
Oh, really? I thought it was a lot more than that.
It seems to dominate where the markets are hot and where you just can't possibly predict the upside. I mean, my view on this is that real estate's one of those rare things that has no recommended retail. And everybody, when I say that, everybody nods their head like you're nodding your head now because you know you're in the game, but everybody knows that. So my question is, Giacomo, if that is true, how can we set a price on something that has no recommended retail? And the very word auction comes from, I discovered this researching for that article actually, comes from the Latin augeo, which means to increase. So it's I think the whole method when applied to real estate, and I'm interested in your feedback because you're in the thick of it doing it every day, but there seems to be these misconceptions around auction that it's only for distressed sales, it's only for mortgagees, it's only
last resort, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in Australia, I mean, the benefits, and I'm happy to go through them with you. I don't know. I'll let you set the agenda, but I just think there are so many upsides to doing this. And yeah, I'm delighted for the opportunity to share what I know with you, if it'll help you and your team as well.
Absolutely. So I listened to your one podcast, a few of them, but the one that jumped out at me was The Hustler.
Yep.
So great. I like the theme song too.
Yeah.
And that's what we train on. The agents that are on the team, and I'm constantly telling them, look, this is what you need to do. You need to be prospecting. And we use the auction benefits to not sell the auction method, but to provide sellers with a solution to their problem. So whatever, there could be 10 or 15 solid benefits of selling at auction. And if someone has a problem, I look to those benefits and see which one of those benefits is going to help solve one of those problems.
Love it. You're also in a, sorry to interrupt, but while I think of it, I mean, you and your team and your organization, you're in a beautifully unique place in the market at the moment because not everybody's doing this. You're one of the few companies that are doing it. And the first rule of marketing, in my view, is to offer a USP or a unique.
I was just going to say that. It's like you're reading my mind.
Which is exactly what you guys. Sorry to point. It's exactly what you guys are doing, and I love that
selling proposal.
Yep, absolutely. And if you can firstly offer something like that, and if you can explain how it's different, and then you can show, and this is where testimonials, the power of testimonials, are so great. Mm-hmm. If you can do those three things, I think you've got a really powerful argument. You've got a really powerful pitch for to be able to make that presentation to sellers and have them understand. It's about education.
You're reading my mind.
Cool. Okay. Well, we're on the same page here, and it's about having your sellers and buyers. Let's not forget buyers. We can't have a sale without a buyer and a deposit and a contract. And it's about helping everybody understand the process. And this all came about here in Toronto because there is little or no transparency. If there's a property for sale here for private sale, and you're the selling realtor, and I'm say that a buyer or a buying realtor acting for a buyer, I go to you and I say, look, how do I buy this place? I want to buy it, or my client wants to buy it. And you're going to say, turn up on Thursday at 4:00 with your best offer in my office, and it's sudden death.
Exactly.
I'm going, well, hello. That's not very transparent. And again, we're dealing with this thing in a free and open economy.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I could talk about that all day, but I think the transparency here is what's important. And I don't know what's going to happen here in Canada or here in Toronto, where you've had a market that's gone up 30 or even 40% in the last year. It's crazy. But I think if the industry doesn't do something, I think the government will do it for them.
Yeah. Well, there's got to be a correction at some point. That's...
Sure, there's always a correction. But an auction, if it's done properly, can work in any market. Can I tell you one of the huge issues that I have with why auctions fail? And I think it's probably the number one reason. I talked before about augeo, the Latin. I'm not trying to sound very well educated, but I did research that, and it's true, and it struck a chord with me. What happens if it's? Can you give me an average sale price, say, for one of your team? Give me an average range of where they might.
It depends. New York,
example.
Because we cover the whole state, it depends. I mean, when you're in Western New York, when we're selling distressed property, it could be as little as $50,000, $25,000. As you get closer to New York City, obviously the prices go up to the millions. So
okay,
it would depend.
Let's say we've got something in the range of, say, 600 to 660, something like that. I think a 10% window is fair. You might look at a property and you might say, well, Mr. Seller, I think your worst case scenario is probably around the 600. Your best case scenario is probably around the $660,000 mark. I mean, I've always thought that a 10% window is fair, and nobody's really ever challenged me on that. Again, we are marketers and we are estimators of value. We're not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it. You're not going to buy it. We've got to find somebody we've got to go out and find somebody who's going to buy it. So here's the thing that happens. So the seller says, yeah, all right, I accept that. I accept that, Giacomo. I accept that my property's worth in that 600 to 660 range. And you say, all right, well, we're going to have an auction, and you sell them on the benefits of auction. And the seller will often bully the agent into quoting the property at 660 plus.
Exactly.
So instead of starting, if this is our range, instead of starting down here and building
and bringing in the buyers
to increase auction and letting people actually see the property, taking the price aside, right? Letting them see the property. Nobody's going to buy a home unless they've actually seen it and touched it and smelt it and felt it and walked around the whole joint, right? Nobody's going to do that. So let's overcome our first challenge first. Let's find somebody who's interested, or more than one person who's interested in buying this property. Then we can help, or they will help us in the auction process, build inquiry. We might get an offer before the auction, which says that'll tell us where we're heading. We've got the opportunity to brief our buyers and tell them where we're heading. So instead of them, like what happens here in Toronto, instead of them turning up blind at 4:00 on a Thursday, they can turn up to an auction and they can see the auctioneer and they can see the bidders, they can see everything out there. And if they want to buy it, I mean, you're familiar with the term when the property becomes on the market, it's going to be sold, right? Yeah. We've reached our reserve price. At that point, the auctioneer says, well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to sell if there's no further bid. And everybody there in a fair and open environment can say yes. And
transparent.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, as far as if I'm a seller, here's why I like it. Because property, by and large, residential real estate is an emotional decision. Okay, you got investors, and I actually think there's a bit of emotion coming in with investors as well, obviously, because people either like or dislike something. But let's say a typical home where I'm going to put my family, I'm going to live there, I'm going to make improvements. My family and friends are going to come over. I'm going to celebrate Christmas there. I'm going to fix up the garden. Blah blah blah. All of that becomes an emotional decision. Now, and here's where the wonderful psychology of selling and buying comes in. Have you ever seen something like, I don't know, a pair of shoes in a store or something, and you think, oh, they were nice, I'll go back and check those out. And you go back and they're not there. And you suddenly had to have them. And you're asking the shop assistant or the sales assistant, hey, I wanted those pair of shoes. Have you got them in another store? Yeah, I'm a size 9. All right, okay, let's see if we can find them. So the whole psychology of that has changed. Because that's been taken away from you, you suddenly want it. I think it's the same with real estate, just at a much higher level. If it's worth $660,000 to that buyer, it's worth $661 to me, and so on, right? Yes. So if you've got somebody else who wants something and they're only $500 or $1,000 below it, hey, I'm going to bid if I can afford it. And right now, what do we got? We got the perfect storm. Money's as cheap, mortgages are cheap, probably. As they've ever been in yours and my lifetime, right? So what a wonderful opportunity to get in and buy property. If the market checks, sure, it might check. Who knows? Who knows where we're going? It seems to correct sooner or later. Nobody can guess it, though. Nobody ever has been able to guess it. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity to buy, and I think it's a wonderful process that people can actually own property.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. The U.S. is a little more conservative or less conservative than Canadians or sellers in Canada. So selling or educating a seller on the auction method of marketing, that can be a task. And what I teach the agents that are on our team is, if a seller doesn't want to trust us in what we do and our professionalism and our ability to educate them on what we think the price should be, it goes back to what you were saying. They try to tell us what the price should be.
Yep.
And I call that doing the dance.
Yep.
And not every property can be sold at auction because of that. if they don't allow the auction process to work for them, I don't want to take it as an auction sale. I'd rather walk away from it, let them go to the traditional route, and if it doesn't work, they can come back to us and we can try to sell it at auction after.
I totally agree with that. And is it not our responsibility? And here's the wonderful thing: if I'm a seller, I'm really not saying yes or no to anything. I'm saying, okay, guys, you go ahead and you conduct an auction and let's see how we go, right? Because they can't say yes or no to anything at that point. We're doing like real time, real live market research. That's what I love about it.
Mm-hmm.
So surely our job is to bring the seller the best possible offer that we've got on the day. It might be something that they say yes to. It might be well in excess of their wildest dreams. It might be below. But I think that's our job. So simply, let's break down our job. Let's find buyers and let's remove this stupid high price idea and let's take that 650 example. If I said to you in old school regular marketing, yeah, your property's worth 6 to 660, you're going to put it on at 695 or 687 or something like that. So the enemy when we're selling are other properties for sale, right? So if there's something round the corner that's 3 beds and 2 baths, similar lot size, that's competing with mine, but I'm for sale at 695, and that one's been quoted by auction at 600 plus, which property is going to get the buyer traffic?
Absolutely.
The auction every time.
It's also going to freeze the market. No one's going to buy that other house or another house similar until they see what happens with that property.
Correct.
If it's done correctly, if the marketing is done correctly.
Yep.
Getting back to
100%.
your 10% swing, I just read an article that Australia had passed a law that said when you're pricing a home for sale, that it has to have that 10% spread. Did you read that? I just read it recently.
I think, well, the laws in Australia will differ state to state. The 6 or 7 states or jurisdictions that will have their own laws, and they're all in response to consumer demand. I mean, and issues. You've had these situations in a boom market where consumers will say, "Hey, this is ridiculous. That property was quoted at 600 plus and it sold for 850. Surely the auctioneer is lying." I would say. No, I would say the auctioneer is doing his job, or the auction agency is doing his job. Did he know it was going to go to 850? Of course not. Did he know? And you can have an offer before auction. You can have a verbal offer, and this is where agents, uneducated agents, and sellers get into a heap of trouble, right? So, say if you get a pre-auction offer in your first week of $650,000, and it's a verbal offer. And the guy says, "Well, I'm offering 650. I won't be here on auction day. You can take it or leave it." So we talk about it, and then we lift our quote, and then we're telling people, that there's already been an offer of 650. What happens on the day? The best offer is 605. I see that happen all the time. So unless that offer, and I'm not sure how you guys do it internally, but unless that 650 offer is backed up with a signed contract and a check, it means zero.
Exactly. We go through that weekly. So I just had that same scenario with one of our agents.
Yep.
We use a pre-auction bid form, and it has to be accompanied by a deposit.
Cool.
And then we go to the seller and we start the negotiation back and forth, because the last thing I want to do is I don't want to hammer the seller to take an offer if we think it's not going to sell at auction, and then have that buyer walk away because we didn't have a solid offer.
I see it happen all the time, and it's an absolute disaster and a complete waste of everybody's time. I mean, when a property, I call it the golden window, Giacomo, those first 2 weeks when a property first comes on the market, those all-important first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
This is why an auction is perfect, because let's go back to our traditional example at 695 against the 600 plus quote, right? The 695, their golden window of the first 2 weeks is destroyed with a ridiculously high asking price that buyers, everybody shops on price. Exactly. And the buyer's going to say 695. Nah, I don't think so. I'm not looking at that. But there's one around the corner at 600. Hey, we're all over that. We want to check that out. Right? So this all important first 2 weeks is where we can tell. And we're in the beautiful age of the interwebs, aren't we? So you and I know what kind of traffic we're getting almost to the hour.
Yeah.
And we can
Buyers are
see
sophisticated too. They know
Yep.
what prices are and what a deal is and what a deal's,
the
what's
exact point I
overpriced.
was going to make. They know exactly where they're going. If a good buyer's probably already looked at a dozen homes, at least half a dozen, they might have even made an offer, right? So they're what I call match fit. They're ready for the playoffs. They've done all the home and aways. They're ready to go. They've got their deposit. They're probably pre-qualified, etc. And that brings me to another beautiful point for a seller. There's none of this, in Australia, not sure how it works in the States, probably similar, but when you buy at auction, you're buying unconditionally. It's not subject to finance. It's not subject to building and pest.
Right.
You've got to do all your due diligence beforehand, so you're ready to go.
Kicker.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. So not wasting time, and we're playing for keeps. We're dealing with serious buyers who are ready to buy, and I think that one feature alone, if I was the seller in the States, I think is a huge benefit, because so many properties they're sold for what seems like a good price, and then 3 weeks later the wheels fall off and you're back to where you were, and it's soul destroying when it could so easily have been avoided.
Right. The other thing is, it works in the opposite direction. Sometimes a seller will underprice a home. And what happens is, if they put a list price, a traditional agent puts a list price on their property, what they're saying to the market is, look, my house is not worth more than this. That's it.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah.
And then what happens if it doesn't sell? We call it a Dutch auction, where they start lowering the price until they start getting offers. So instead of going up, they're going backwards.
Yep. But think about that from a marketing perspective. What sort of damage is that doing to the property? If I see your listing reduced from $695 to $675 to $669 to $659, that tells me that you're standing there
something's wrong,
motherless at your opens, right? Nobody's around, and you keep reducing. This is the house that nobody else wanted. This is the house that's way past the golden 2-week period, right?
Exactly.
So let's make our listings fresh and attractive and interesting and wantable right from the start. Let's have competing offers, and let's get. And I love to say to my sellers, if they're concerned with my quote, let me get you something you can say no to. Let's find out what's going on here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm getting tingly. The job is to educate the seller on the benefits. And and if you can do that, and they really, if they have a reserve, they have nothing to lose. They call the shots. They're gonna take that offer. Yep. I've started auctions at $1. And I had a live auction once, and we had a few hundred people in the room, and the seller was sitting directly in front of me, calling the bids. And when I started at $1, I could see her just shrink down in the seat. But I tell you, that bid went up over 180,000 within minutes.
Yeah.
And so it just shot up.
Yeah.
So that's the psychology of an auction. That's the true power of an auction if you use it correctly. Yeah.
Typically in Australia, our auctions are on a Saturday or a Sunday. I'm a big fan, and we have some harsh winters here in North America, and it doesn't always work. But no reason why they can't be held in the living room. I like having the auction on the property. I like having it, and if you Google Australian auctions, you'll see that
I've seen a lot of them. Yeah,
in front of the place and in front of the house, and people can see it. And it doesn't matter. I've seen brilliant results in torrential rain, thunderstorms, with people standing there in the rain getting soaked, and sometimes I don't think they even know it's raining there. That focused on buying.
Exactly.
So you've got this lovely lead up, right? So we've got 4 weekends leading up, 1, 2, 3, 4 weekends, and our auctions. I'm going the other way. I'll go over here. Our auction is on the 4th weekend, or let's say it's the 4th Saturday. On the Wednesday or the Thursday leading up to that 4th Saturday, that's where I like to have my meeting with my client, so I can sit down with them and say, okay, here's what we've got. And I tell my clients who my buyers are. I've got Peter and Mary Jones. I've got Jack and Julie Smith. I've got whatever. And I tell them all, I think they're good. They've sold their home. They're ready to go. They're looking in the range. They've made an offer. And so they get a complete picture.
Exactly.
And I tell them on the weekend, we're going to be going out there, and I'll be looking for your reserve price, and I'll be giving you some feedback so we can formulate a figure that's going to help you get a result.
And it's exciting too, and it brings that emotion out when they do that.
Street theater.
So the company that I started just last year, it's a technology company. So it's online. It's similar to auction.com. Okay. So it's realestateauction.com, and we will do live auctions when I think it's the proper thing to do. But most of our auctions are being done online.
Okay. Awesome.
So, but I do understand the importance of doing an auction, live in front of the property or at the property. That is definitely important.
Yeah. Well, look, you've got that option. You've obviously taken it to the next level. This is highly competitive in Melbourne. If you call in 5 agents, Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane or in any of these popular areas, if you call in 4 or 5 agents in a good market in a big city where there's plenty of demand, like there is at the moment, all 5 are going to be telling you to auction. And the way that we work in Australia, I'm not sure whether you know, but there is no buying agent really. It's just a selling agent.
Wow.
Do we double end it? Yeah, I guess essentially we do, but we only charge 2.5% to 3%. But our seller pays the marketing. We call it VPA, or vendor paid advertising. So it's seller paid advertising, and they'll put up an amount. Take our 6 to 650. They'll take our 6 to 650 example. They'll put up say 6 to 7 grand for advertising.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad that we're recording this. It's going to be in the group, so I'm glad the agents will be able to see that.
Are you guys doing that yet? Are you asking your sellers for a contribution?
We do. I do train and teach that. I've always promoted that the seller should be paying for the marketing. Do we get it on every deal? No. Sometimes we don't have to. Okay. We do enough advertising in-house that sometimes it doesn't cost us any added expense. But when a seller will bring a property to me and their agent had tried to sell it for a year and they had no luck, well, then I know that I need to go further as far as marketing, because everyone already knows the property's been out there on the market. So I need to reach maybe a national audience or do some other type of marketing. And in that situation, I always pass the expense to the seller. Okay. Now they can pay it up front, or sometimes they pay it on the back end. In some states in the US, they don't allow, there's a law where they won't allow the seller to pay any upfront costs when it comes to selling the property. So you would have to charge it on the back end.
Yeah. And obviously everything that I'm saying and that you're saying, I mean, if people need to check their own state laws, obviously, because legislation is different everywhere. So
in every municipality, every community. The first thing I teach in my auction school is check with your Department of State on license laws and advertising laws in regards to selling real estate at auction. So that's the first thing I tell them, because I can't keep up with all the different rules.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yep. Who can?
I teach basically the marketing, the concept, the basics of real estate auction, and then how to do JVs, joint ventures with other agents, because what we'll do is we'll also work with other agents that are traditional, that don't really understand the auction method. So we'll either go after them, prospect them, or they'll contact us, and then we'll do an auction in conjunction with them.
Okay.
Or we'll do a consignment auction. The new company hasn't done it yet, but in the past, what I would do is I'd have a consignment auction. Let's say I was doing condos or distressed properties or foreclosures. I would send out an invitation to all the agents in one area, and I would say, listen, on this day, we're going to have this big condo auction at a hotel ballroom. Bring us your listings. We'll market them for 30 days. You do the showings. You deal with the phone calls. But on X day, the buyers will show up in the ballroom, and then they'll bid on these properties. So I've done that in the past as well.
Yep. Well, you've got options. If you can create demand through effective marketing and education, then I think that's a pretty awesome business model, I've got to say, in an area where, and I think you'll see more and more of this. And if you're at the forefront of doing this with your technology and your industry knowledge and your advice and the way you're helping people, I think you got the tiger by the tail. I think it's exciting.
Wow, thank you. I'll tell you one more thing, and then I'd like to learn a little bit more about you, and then we'll cut the call off because I don't want to take up too much of your time. So the company that I started, realestateauction.com, the idea behind it is a lot of real estate agents are traditional agents. They don't focus on auctions. So the realestateauction.com is going to be a software where an agent working with a traditional company, if they have a property that they want to sell at auction, they can partner with us and they can put their listing on our auction. So It doesn't just have to be our auctions. It doesn't have to be just from our agents.
Cool.
Another agent from another company could partner with us, bring us their listing, and they can auction it off on our site.
Yep.
Similar to what auction.com is doing, some of these other online auction companies, but they don't have that partnership. They're saying, listen, bring us the deal. We'll auction it off. Whatever fee you get, you take it. And whatever fee we get, we'll take it. Yep. So they're really not educating the agent. They're not really working with the agent. And there's really no customer support as far as the auction house dealing directly with the seller.
Yep.
So
yep.
That's the concept of realestateauction.com. Again, we're 18 months in, and I think by year 3, we'll start branching out nationwide. That's the goal.
Yeah. Well, you'll need some good software.
Yeah, absolutely.
Funny you happen to mention that.
Absolutely.
I'm a partner in a software company out of Sydney, and we're coming to North America here within the next 12 months. But one of the things that we have that is not really unique, but I think the way that we do it is we have it called client login. So our client can log into to their own account, and they can see what kind of traffic that we've been getting on all the websites. They can see what offers have been. Yeah, they know the effectiveness of the marketing. They know our numbers at open houses, feedback, etc. So, and that's constantly updated live. Like we'll just take a tablet to an iPad to our open. Giacomo comes through with his wife. I've got your details. I've got your information, what you need. That automatically goes into our database and updates our clients as well. So that sort of technology is here, and that's a software called Locked On. LockedOn.com is the website, but we'll be coming here shortly, and we're pretty excited about that because I think that's going to really change the game. Fully responsive app, phone, tablet, and laptop as well. So that technology is coming.
So what does it do? Does it syndicate from all the different sites that the marketing would syndicate out to, and it creates some type of
It's a customer relationship management system. It lets you manage your clients, and it lets an individual manage their clients. You can easily do buyer match. It lets you upload listings. It lets you find out who's looking. It lets you send SMS messages to everybody and email through a pretty cool looking interface. Helps you load data onto your website, etc. There are some good CRMs around, but this one is dedicated for real estate agents, for real estate professionals.
Yeah,
so
I'd love to take a look at it. Finding a good CRM is hard. The other thing is
I'm going to bring you in with your permission, I'm going to bring you on a beta test when we're ready to go, because I would appreciate your feedback. Absolutely.
I've tested a lot of CRMs, and sometimes the technology can just be cumbersome or overwhelming. And the other thing is the number one complaint with sellers is that agents don't communicate with them.
Of course.
So if you have a system where you can tell them, look, this is what we did for advertising. These are the stats. This is the amount of traffic we're getting. Even a report like that, and have an easy system set up so that you can deliver that on a weekly basis. That goes a long way.
Yeah.
We used to even have a communication guarantee in my traditional company where if we didn't communicate with the seller once a week on what was happening, good or bad or indifferent, we would owe the seller $100 at closing if we sold the property. Yeah. So every Tuesday that went by, if we didn't communicate to the seller, it would cost us. So the agents were on top of communicating the type of traffic or the marketing, buyer questions to the seller.
Well, look what's happening with technology. We've got companies like Airbnb, of which we use. We have a place up north that we rent out most weekends, and I'm constantly advised as to, I can see at any point how much traffic I've had, how many visits to my listing or my, what do they call it, a listing. So I'm constantly in the know. Anybody inquires, it comes straight to my phone.
Exactly.
And I'm sure you're a fan as well. Uber, we call our Uber car, we can see physically where it is. I'll ring the guy and say, hey, you're going the wrong way. I can tell, like second by second, where it is now. Now, technology has given consumers that kind of advantage. So we need to be thinking, how can we offer that high touch, high level of communication to our clients so they constantly know where we are and what's going on with their $500,000, $2 million asset.
Exactly.
I assure you, if you got a property worth $500,000, you're thinking about it every minute of every day,
Absolutely.
pretty much, especially if you're selling it. So that's important. And the agent that can provide that service will win the business.
And it takes someone like yourself who's been in the business to understand that, to be able to bring that type of technology and service to the sellers. So,
it's coming. It's here. It's coming. When you've got that immediate update, and you can see the level of interest, and you know, it's a great thing as well, Giacomo. I think, because if I'm selling my property and I see that other properties in my area are getting, I don't know, 50 visits a day, for example, and I'm only getting 10,
there's a problem.
There's a problem, right? And I, as the agent, have a duty of care, moral, legal, and ethical, I believe, to tell my client, we've got a problem. Exactly. We need to fix it. Could be price, could be marketing. It's usually price.
Right.
But that's very early in the auction period. That's why that first week is so important. If you're not getting the traffic that you should be getting in your neighborhood, if you've got issues, that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. So I want to ask you real quick about your podcast.
Yeah.
I listened to a few of them. Awesome.
Thank you.
And your book that you wrote, and I tracked your timeline on your website. So
okay, cool. Well, I wrote a book called How to Sell Your Home for More, and it was in when my brother David and I started in real estate. It was the early 90s in Melbourne. Was a very, very tough time. So, I'm in my 50s now, but that was going back some time. But it was very, very hard, and we'd run out of ideas to attract business. It was in a difficult market like that. The number of and real estate as an industry doesn't really care about prices going up or down. What we care about, and what's important to us, obviously, is volume. Sure, we can control prices, but only with what we've got to sell. When volume is half of what it was the year before, and you've got the same number of agents, it can get pretty tough. And that's what happens when a market, it happened here in the States in 2008, and it'll happen again.
Absolutely.
So I wrote this book called How to Sell Your Home for More. So what I was interested in is how a seller can influence their selling price. Again, no recommended retail on real estate. If I can help that seller move their price from $610 or $615 to $640 or $650, I'm a pretty good deal, and I can charge the fee that I deserve to be able to do that. So I came up with what I think is a pretty good formula, and I detailed that in the book, How to Sell Your Home for More. And if you like, I can send you an electronic copy that you can offer to your people if you wish. I'd love to do that, and they can check it out. So that was really the start of my business, and now I license hard copies of the books out to agents everywhere. The podcast, Top Agents Playbook, it kind of happened almost by accident, really. I started to do a few interviews, and then I learned about the whole podcast phenomena. That was a couple of years ago, and I'm working towards my 100 episodes. And if you got the opportunity to sit down with a real estate agent that's earning $3, $4, or $5 million a year. I'm not talking about volume of properties sold. These guys are
crushing it.
They are crushing it. They are phenomenal machines. I think I had a pretty good career in real estate, but I never wrote $5 million in fees in a single year. That's pretty phenomenal. So if we can take a leaf out of what these guys are doing and be inspired and motivated and get some great ideas from that, then that's really what the podcast is all about. I've got plenty of giveaways there. There's plenty of episodes to check things out from. So I encourage everybody to check it out.
Yeah. What is the URL? It's
topagentsplaybook.com.
Topagentsplaybook.com. Awesome. I will put that in the comments on the feed. And I'll also let you know how the show's syndicated out. Awesome. And if you want to learn more about any of this technology that I'm starting to use, I'll share that with you. Also, send me your address and send me the book, but I'll also send you a print copy of my book, and maybe we can chat again sometime.
Magic. I'd look forward to it, mate. That sounds terrific. This has been educational for me, and
Awesome.
What can I say? Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, I'm glad I did. Thank you for being so generous with your time and for getting back to me. And we'll look to talk to you again in the future.
All right, buddy. Can't wait.
All right. Thank you so much.
See you, mate. Take care. Bye now.
Bye now.